Going live. Hey everybody, there we are. Hey, how you doing? Man, oh man, from our home to yours. And we've got a lot of people. I can't see the numbers on here anymore. I know it was well edging towards 1,500 or so, but hey, thanks for joining us. Huddle for Hope.
Yes,
right?
And we need hope right now, don't we?
We absolutely do need hope, and we call it that with intention. And, one thing, wherever you're joining us from, literally around the world,
right.
One thing we know that is more contagious than this contagion during the pandemic is fear. And the only antidote to fear is hope.
Right.
And that's why we call it Huddle for Hope. Leslie and I were talking about just stuff that we've encountered in our 30 plus years of marriage.
Yeah, we've kind of we've got time for these conversations, right? And so we were thinking back on our story and
Right.
moments like this.
Just like real pivot point, like stuff you'll never forget, what psychologists call flashbulb memories. These are
Right.
memories that stay with you forever. Right out of graduate school, I was invited to go to Chernobyl. Some of you are going, what was Chernobyl? But if you're of a certain age, you remember that incredible nuclear disaster. And I was over there to set up a mental health clinic with for adolescents, rather, with an incredible team. We went through, of course, 9/11.
Right.
We were in Oklahoma.
Yeah,
when that
actually
happened.
Scheduled to speak, and the devastation occurred.
We were getting ready to speak at the historic African-American college there.
Right. So
And everything changed. Within 2 days, I was on an airplane, which was scary at that time, to go to New York and be in what they called the hole with the Brotherhood, the firefighters. And boy, I'll never forget that. Listening to messages from spouses, leaving the last message they know that they're ever going to leave for their spouse, and just stuff like that. We were also talking about how we were in Hawaii.
Yeah, even recently,
2 years ago,
thinking we were having finally a relaxed getaway,
Yeah.
and we got the delivery of the message: inbound missile, prepare to die. So take shelter.
You have 45
Yeah.
minutes till you die. Use it well.
Yeah.
That was just the craziest thing. We had one of our sons with us, high schooler, and the other was in college in Chicago. And by the way, I don't know if you can hear that. That's our kitchen sink.
Yeah, proof that we are really at home.
That is in desperate need of a plumber. So I
Yeah.
don't know if you can hear that from this microphone or not, but that's the state we live in these days, right?
Yeah.
And that was so crazy. An inbound missile. Do you guys
Yeah.
remember that when it was on the news? And so there we were in our hotel room. Everybody was, told to go to the hotel room. Like, well, that'll save us. But we've been through some crazy stuff,
Right.
but nothing weirder, crazier than this pandemic that has literally shut down the world. And so we thought, let's just get together and have some fun and maybe inspire you with a little hope, because that's what's going to get us through this. Hope, one of my favorite profs in graduate school,
Dr. Lewis Meads.
he was an incredible guy, written several books on forgiveness and other things. But I took any class he was teaching, didn't matter what the topic was. I just loved him. He was the kind of prof that would get right in your face, and he'd always call us doctors. We were in a doctoral program, but he'd get in your face and go, Dr. Parrott, what do you think of that right now? And it's like, I don't know, don't call it me. But you just couldn't help but to be riveted in his lectures. But he talked a lot about hope, I remember, in a particular lecture. And he's talking about how hope, of course, is seeing something in the future.
Right.
You can imagine it. You can
that
picture
it's
it.
possible.
And we can picture getting beyond this,
Yes.
right? We can picture a better tomorrow. But he said it also involves worry. Worry is a part of hope.
Which is the shocking thing.
Right.
Like, who thinks worry is a part of hope? So in a way, that is so normalizing. Like, I can hold on to hope while I also deal with the ambivalent feelings I have.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And so if you're feeling guilty because you have worry, don't. That's part of the human system. And but it also can really ignite your hope if you'll lean into that a little bit more. And so that's why we're calling this the Huddle for Hope. And as promised, we wanted to have a little fun. And in fact, I'm going to do like a little game show thing here. I really wish I had some like a band off to the side here, but I don't do that. I do have, one thing I forgot is that
the next best thing.
Yeah, I've been watching some late night comics, and I've noticed that Jimmy Fallon and
Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler wrote this incredible song, kind of impromptu, called "Don't Touch Your Grandma," and some other incredible things like that. And so I just thought, how cool would it be if I wrote a little song about marriage in the midst of the pandemic and could play that for you, just kind of a humorous thing. It'd be awesome to do that, I thought. And then I remembered, well, I don't play the guitar, so that's going to be really difficult, and I don't have talent to write songs. So,
and I don't carry a tune, so I can't help. Yeah.
And so you're wondering, well, why does he have a guitar in his home? I'll tell you why, because my our 16-year-old son, who just turned 17 a little while ago, I still think of him 16, he plays the guitar, and so this is his first guitar. I thought, I've got to keep up with this kid, and so I'm going to show this to you. I bought something here called the Chord Buddy. All you do is, and this will be out of tune, but all you do is press these, and you can learn to play the guitar.
Total cheat.
While you're cheating. Yes. And to be a total name dropper, Stephen Curtis Chapman was at our home a few months ago. Late at night, we went to his concert and then went out to dinner and ended up at our home. And so it was really late. You were already in bed. The kids were asleep.
Early.
Yes. And so anyway, he saw this in my study, and I was showing him the Chord Buddy. I've never seen a guy laugh so hard in his life. But anyway, so I'm not going to be playing any music for you, but I do wish I had a lead in. But here's the little game I want to play, and we're going to give away a couple of books or more on this thing. Like you guys, I'm sure we've been playing a ton of board games, and we found this one. It's called, what's the name of this thing? It's called Say What You See. And actually, this was a stocking stuffer at Christmas.
Which we had neglected, never brought out.
Didn't even crack the thing open until this pandemic.
In this moment.
And so I thought we can do this, and it's really hard on this technology. I'm looking at all your comments there, which is fantastic, but they can move pretty quickly. I don't know if through this technology, if we can track you if you get the right answer. So instead of doing that, here's what you can do to win a free book, and we'll give out several of these. Just go to our Instagram account, @LessonLeslie. I'll put that up there. And to be eligible for the free book, and I need to tell you what the free book is here in a minute. In fact, let me do that. The free book is our new book. This comes out in just a couple of weeks. It's called Healthy Me, Healthy Us. And man, if there's ever been a time to practice what we wrote about in here, it's now, right?
We have the opportunity to focus on what can I do to be the healthiest.
Yeah, right. And the whole premise of this book is that your relationships, whether it's marriage or anything else, your relationships can only be as healthy as you are. Mm-hmm. And if you've ever heard us speak for any length of time, you've probably heard us allude to that, because it's a mantra for us. And starting with our university students and at our live events, we often talk about the most important thing you can ever do for your relationships is work on who you are in the context of them. And during this pandemic, it's so tempting to just kind of let one day stack up on the next and on to the next, and we just kind of sit around waiting for the world to get back to normal. Why not use this time to create something that will benefit you the rest of your days? And so that's a thought with this book. It's a roadmap to getting healthy, emotionally, spiritually, relationally healthy. Like I said, your relationships can only be as healthy as you are. So if you want to win a free copy of this, to be one of the first people ever to get a copy of it, just go to our Instagram account, and there you can go. There's what to do. And no, it's not backwards on here. And so just tag, what's it say here? Tag 2 friends in the comment section on Instagram @LessonLeslie, and then share this post. This is a little bonus if you want to. Share this post of this deal in your stories and tag us. So there you go, and win a copy of the book. And by the way, we have a lot of questions from you guys that some of you submitted early. And
really good ones.
Yeah, we're going to get to those. But just to kind of get us going, we thought a little game that we've been enjoying here at our home. And like I said, it's called Say What You See. So I'm going to give you a couple examples. We won't start the competition with this, but just take a look at that. You see it? Now your task is to imagine, what is this conveying? I'm trying to put that in front of your face. Here's how it's played. It's to decipher, what does this mean? All right, so take a look at that. You see it? What that means is shadow of a doubt. You got that? Shadow of a doubt. So, and by the way, once you play this game, we have a stack of about 200 of these.
You can only play it once.
You're done.
You're done.
Because everybody knows the answer after that. Here's another example. All right. And once you get in the hang of this, you'll get it super fast. You see that? So are anybody guessing so far? This is a tall order, right? Tall order. All right. You got it. You get the way this is. One more example, and then we'll start the competition. All right. There we go. What is that? Well, that's backdoor. Backdoor. All right. You get the idea. So let's start this competition to win a free book that really you're just going to win by doing what I told you about on Instagram. This is, you can get that. Once you know it, they're so simple. And if you don't,
it depends. It depends on your brain.
And look at all these people that are answering that. So many people have got it quickly. Was the first one there? Blanchard, man, it goes by so fast. I can't see that. My team told me this is, look at all those.
Look there,
yes. Yeah. All right. Here we're going to go with the next one here. And man, that I see why my team told me it'd be hard to track.
This is a group of genius.
Yeah. All right. I love this one. You ready? We're going to see who the first one is to get this answer. Here we go. Boom. I'm watching the comments. I'm not seeing any answers yet. There it is. Sideshow. Oh, I missed the person. I can't grip the first person to do it. Then they just come in like a flood. This is awesome. All right. And we're going to get a little more challenging as we move along here. This is a perfect one in the midst of the pandemic.
It makes sense. It's right? Probably your experience.
Yes. So, Quincy, I see you there. You might be one of the last ones to type in their sideshow. Here we go. Here's a new one. We'll just do a couple more of these. There you go. Who's going to answer that first? Looking for the answer. I know you guys are figuring out. Ashley is having winner's regret. She didn't get that.
Not yet. Oh, there it goes.
Who was it? Did you?
No, my eyes cannot work that fast.
We can't get it fast enough, you guys. But the answer is leftovers.
Yeah.
Leftovers. There's 3 overs on the left side there. It's leftovers. 3 times over. And seeing other guesses that aren't quite right. Sideshow.
There's several.
Yeah. Oh, that's from the old one. Yeah. Right. Triple over. Good attempt there, Major. Under over. Thrice over. I like that, Peter.
Yeah. Love it.
All right. Let's see. I want to pick a couple more of these. Okay, this one. This stumped our family for a little while. So are you guys ready? 3, 2, 1. There it is. I'm going to be looking for the answer here. I'm going to look really careful to see if we can get a first-time winner. Once you see it, you're going to go, so obvious. But what is it? Oh, man, they just moved too fast.
I know it, but they're getting it.
But you're getting it right.
Yep.
It's travel overseas, right? And once somebody says it, if you're still struggling with it, like, yeah, of course. Oh, man, 1 million people got that. That's all right. This one, like I said, we're moving up in difficulty level here.
Oh, yeah, this one could be a challenge.
Boom. See what you got there. On the screen?
Not quite.
Oh,
there you go.
That's not fair. People still getting the answers in their travel overseas. But what is that? What is that? There you go. Boom.
Whoa.
Blanchard.
So fast.
Blanchard Church of Christ in Pennsylvania. It was a whole congregation that answered this. It took that many people to get this right. But the answer is scrambled eggs. Scrambled eggs. So there's the word eggs, and it's scrambled. Some of you are going, ah. All right, how many more I got? Like 3 more. Let's just do these real fast.
Okay.
Now this is super meaningful for any couple.
Yes.
That has been,
especially right now.
Yes. In the midst of being together for a month in their home, that is what we need. What is that? What is that? In fact, it's the title of a book that my prof I was just mentioning wrote years ago. What is that? Oh, sorry, man, I keep taking it down. There it is. I couldn't get it.
It's
but
fair.
Forgive and forget.
They got it.
And I don't know if it's the technology or just the timing of our brains, but all these answers just seem to flood in all immediately after just a brief pause. Forgive and forget. I've seen them all go by. All right, I got two more, and this is what. All right, I'm going to save that one for last. So this is what this one is right there. Take a look at that. Second to last one here. How did somebody, Mike answered something that hasn't even come up yet. Did I hold that in front of the camera? He was fast, man.
Look at that. They're on it.
He was fast, yeah. Too little, too late. Too little, too late. That's what some of the answers are too. And I have a feeling some of you actually own this game and know the answers to these. So this is the last one I'm going to do before we shift gears. In fact, just to make this one interesting, I thought that I haven't heard this, if this is a thing or not. I'm going to call it the Corona Hair Challenge. I don't know if you can tell in this screen, but my hair is like I'm going to compete with Conan O'Brien for the biggest do here pretty soon. So anyway, if someone can get the correct answer on this one, did I hold up the answer already? No, good. I thought I will shave my head entirely with this buzz cut. I mean, I'm talking about getting in there right now and doing that. Wouldn't that be incredible? I'm not going to do that, but wouldn't that be a fun thing to do?
I think we should do it.
Yeah, Blanchard Church of Christ again weighing in. They want to see that happen. It's a whole congregation that's joined us there. So, all right, here's the last one. This is something that we can all use right now. And I think I saw one guy that got a little preview of this card that already answered it. But here we go. Boom. Take a look at that. What is that?
I see it.
Yeah, Chaz, you got it too.
Yep.
I feel like I wasn't fair with this because I may have shown it earlier, but you got it right. That is back rub. Back rub. Who doesn't want that right now from their spouse while we're
no kidding.
Cooped up?
Well, we've got a little extra tension in our necks.
Yeah, so there you go. I didn't, obviously I'm not going to do this, but I did cut my hair 2 days ago. And I asked Leslie to do it. She said, I'm not even coming close to doing anything like that.
Not touching that.
So what about with you? What would that,
I could use it because I've got the roots and the shoots. I'm starting to feel like a flower child.
But I literally did. I went in there and I trimmed up my bangs a little bit. And then I thought this could get really crazy really fast. So I don't know what you guys are doing. And by the way, well, I'll get to that later. I want to make sure we have time for your questions. But again, if you want to be in the drawing for the free book, just go to Les and Leslie on Instagram. We had a great interview yesterday with Judah and Chelsea Smith on there talking about some marriage issues. And the questions that we're getting here are, there's just so many. So forgive us if we don't get to everybody's questions, but we're going to do our best to answer these. And they're in no particular order. Here's one from Rita. I don't know where these people are from, but Rita says, I always wanted to have more time with my husband, and now we have a lot of it. And it's lot is all in caps.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, exactly. She says, now we have a lot of it, like too much time. We're both pretty happy people, and we love our marriage. But this time, exclamation point, so much time, exclamation point, 3 times. So not even a question. It's just a statement that she wants out there.
She just needed to get that out there.
So, but it is true. You know, time is the second biggest complaint that couples have in their marriage pre-pandemic. And the first is communication. We just don't talk. We just don't communicate the way that we'd like to. We have these meltdowns and so forth. And we can talk about that too. But the second biggest complaint, believe it or not, is that we don't have time together. Well, we've all had an abundance of time, and we're realizing, man, having a lot of time can be a challenge. It
poses its own challenge. Here's the thing. It doesn't matter if you're struggling to get time together or if you've got this super saturated abundance of time. What we still have to deal with is that we all have time. We experience time differently. I have my own style, my rhythm of life, and you've got your own time style.
Right. I live with the sense of urgency. We wrote a book years ago called Your Time-Starved Marriage. And we really wrote this book for ourselves because we couldn't find anything. We went to the bookstore to find it. You know, you go to the marriage section in a bookstore, back when we used to go to bookstores. Remember that? That was incredible. And we looked in the marriage section, and you'll find stuff on in-laws and sex and money management and communication and conflict and all these things, but nothing on time. And so that's why we wrote Your Time-Starved Marriage. And when we were doing research on that, that was really a pivot point in our relationship to realize God designed you in a unique way for time, and me too.
Yes.
And in our case, they're not the same.
And I think that's the case for most couples. Everyone has a unique chemistry, but I mean, for you, the way you're oriented to time, you are totally a planner, because you're all about the future, first of all.
Right. I love it. And this is kind of, I wasn't even thinking about using this because I want to talk about it later, but this is a little time style thing. And if you look at across here, it's unscheduled and scheduled. Let's talk about that for just a quick second.
Sure.
Because I'm definitely scheduled. You're definitely unscheduled.
You schedule even let's make the bed at a certain time.
Everything's on the
That
is not true.
You love that.
That's crazy. Schedule making the bed. I don't even schedule what time I get up, but I am scheduled in that I want to be a productive person. Every day starts at 0 for me. And so I am, I got a lot of stuff on my calendar.
Yes.
In fact, years ago when we synced our calendars, Leslie was, every evening she'd go, what are you doing tomorrow? Well, I'd pull out my calendar and go, I got this, that, and the other thing, and go through it. And what about you? And she'd go, oh, I think I'm going to meet with Wendy, and I'm going to meet some girls at Starbucks and blah, blah, blah. But she doesn't write it down. And so we synced our calendars, and thinking she would start to enter stuff on her calendar. The only thing she ever put on her calendar was her own birthday. So that's the truth, right?
That's absolutely true.
So
I'm
really
busy.
Intense.
My days are really full, but I
busy
don't prefer to be scheduled with that. I like to be available for whatever emerges in the moment. That's really what I chose in that moment.
So intuitively which you are. Yeah. And then the other continuum up here is present-oriented or future-oriented. Present-oriented or future-oriented. And you are definitely about the here and now.
Right.
I am about the there and then. What's exciting around the corner that we haven't seen yet. I get energized by that. Leslie says I'm sometimes a visitor from the future. I'm so focused on what's about to happen. But you're like right now.
Yeah, I'm fully present in the moment. And how those things intersect create a way that we experience time. For you, it's all about being a planner.
Yeah, so if you're future oriented and you're scheduled, you're a planner like I am. These are the people that have the highest IQ. These are people that get along. No, I'm just kidding you. Has nothing. One is not better than the other, but it does sometimes feel that way because, man, I wish you were more like me. I wish you were a planner. We all feel that in our relationship. But you're not a planner. What are you?
No, I'm an accommodator. So I'm all about the here and now, and I'm not scheduled. So for me, I love to grab time when it makes sense in the moment.
Right.
And for you, you love to count on, we're going to take a walk today or whatever it is that's meaningful.
Right. Yeah. So here we are in the midst of this pandemic. We all have more time than we ever imagined with our spouse, and understanding just kind of how you're hardwired in your personality for time can be super helpful. So what does that mean for us in the midst of having all this time together?
Yeah, I mean, it really takes really some insight and some empathy, because you have to understand that I like to just be surprised in the moment about something that emerges.
Right.
And for us to have meaningful couple time, you need a plan so that you can look forward to it.
Right.
And then it takes on meaning for you.
Yes.
So we have to work that between us.
And in the last few days, we've been doing a lot of interviews and radio and podcasts and stuff like that. And I would tend to just start scheduling that stuff without talking with her first. And it involves her schedule. But I realized that's not working out so good. You weren't liking that.
You realized it by how I reacted?
I got that. Yeah. I'm a psychologist. I pick up on stuff like that.
Subtly.
When you said, what are you doing? But anyway, time. Yes, Rita, it's a great question. So much time. And so just having an insight into how we're hardwired for that can
it's not just about the commodity of time. It's about how we experience time.
Yes, right. And no doubt, some of you have been asking, where did this thing come from? I'm going to talk about that later. It's a thing we call better love. And I'll mention how that might be of help to you in the midst of this whole corona crisis. Let's go to another question here. This one is from Portia. First of all, I love your name. Portia, okay, she says, so I know we are in this for a while. I know it's going to impact our finances. Isn't that the truth? I've come to terms with it, but sometimes I freak out. Sometimes I cry for no reason. Wow. Have you been there?
Yes.
My husband is beginning to think I'm psycho. Any tips for managing stress and anxiety? We've been getting this question a lot. So Portia, you're not alone, but how do you manage stress and anxiety when it feels like the world just got tipped upside down?
Yeah, and it's a good question, and it's a deep question, actually, and we're so thankful that you asked it. I mean, I think this is one way we can make a difference for one another, because we're so tempted at a time like this to be drawn into this sort of pessimistic, anxious place.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, and as we've thought about this a little bit, I was reminded of something. I used to teach this in my general psych class at the university. And we talked about this thing called learned helplessness. There was a psychologist at the University of Pennsylvania, and his name is Martin Seligman, and one of my favorite psychologists ever, living psychologists. And anyway, he was doing this experiment back in the 70s with dogs. And boy, I got to tell you, we are missing our dog. Our dog went to doggy heaven about a year ago. And those of you that have dogs right now in the midst of that, what a great comfort that can be, right?
They're the best dogs.
But he was doing this experiment with dogs on behaviorism, and he had built this thing called a shuttle box. And on one side of the box, it was big enough to contain the dog, plenty of room in there. But on one side of it would be like this metal grate, and on the other side was this cushy carpeting. And then there was a little partition between the two that the dog could easily jump over. And so he was this is back in the day when they did these kinds of experiments. They would shoot a little jolt of electricity, the kind you get when you touch a doorknob on a winter day sometimes, nothing crazy, but enough that you go, whoa, I want to avoid that. He was doing that to see how long it would take for a dog to jump over to the other side. And how many trials do you think it would take a dog? Can you answer that for me real quick? How many trials would it take a dog to learn, like how many little jolts until they would learn, in fact, they began to associate it with a sound, a buzzer. And then the dog realizes, the buzzer just happened. I'm getting out of here. It would take about 3 trials. Yeah, suppose you're saying 1 or 2, and that's pretty close. Just 3 trials to learn to associate that buzzer with jumping over. And then he realized by accident that some of these dogs just weren't jumping. After several trials, they just were not jumping. And
it really surprised him.
Yeah, and what was going on? Well, he learned on this particular set of dogs that they realized there was no alternative for them, that they couldn't jump over the box. They had learned they couldn't escape, and he coined that phrase, learned helplessness.
Yeah.
And then he began to study it. In fact, he studied it his whole life. For the next 30 years, he devoted himself, and so many things in psychology I learned that way by accident. But anyway, he learned that, and what are the ingredients that go into learned helplessness? Because such applicability to managing our anxiety, because anxiety is the result of helplessness, right? That's when we feel helpless. We have financial anxiety when we're not in control of our finances. We have emotional anxiety when we can't control our anxiety, our fears, and so forth.
Yeah, and our safety and our well-being for our family.
So what did Dr. Seligman learn? He learned that this is the result of 3 things that go into this, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about what these are?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, he learned that helplessness is this feeling that this is pervasive. This will last forever. It's not what I'm experiencing now.
Pervasiveness, that it impacts everything I'm going to do, right? You said that it'll last forever.
You're right.
That's the second thing.
That's part of it,
which is permanence.
Yes.
Permanence and pervasiveness. And when something is pervasive, it's impacting my parenting. This is going to impact our kids for years. And it is in some ways, in positive ways and maybe negative ways. But it becomes pervasive.
Right.
And then the sense of permanence. It's never going to change. I don't see a way out of this. I don't know how we'll get to another side financially or otherwise.
And the feeling that it's very personal, that this is not something that's happening out there, that somehow I am defective. And it's easy to feel vulnerable. Like, I'm the one who lost my job, or I'm the one who didn't wash my hands well enough to protect us from the virus, or it's so easy to personalize what feels like it's our fault when it's not in our control.
Right. I feel a little bit like I'm in my general psych class right now, because as I'm looking at comments, people are going, "It's my birthday today."
I love it.
Words,
happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday. In other words, move on. We're bored with this stuff. But let me just sum it up. Personal, pervasive, and permanent. Those are the three ingredients of learned helplessness. And that is what will push you down into depression. It's what pushes you down into anxiety that feels uncontrollable. So that's what you want to get a hold of. And what was her name that wrote that? Yeah, Portia. That's why you find yourself crying when it feels like there's, for no reason, just out of nowhere. You're washing dishes at the sink and you're suddenly crying. But that kind of anxiety. And let's face it, this whole thing, this pandemic is ripe with opportunities. I mean, you guys came in from getting something down in our car and walked in, and I was like, did you wash your hands? Wash your hands. Everybody wash their hands.
Anxiety triggers every 5 minutes.
It feels like we have to have a hazmat suit on to open our mail these days. And so there's so much anxiety. And I love your question, Portia. I hope that's helpful in understanding you don't have to give in to learned helplessness, because that's what will spin you up into more anxiety.
And we don't have time to go deep on this right now, but I would just say, as people of faith, we know, first of all, we know this is not permanent. And we know that it is not personal, and we know it's not pervasive. We know the truth. So when we can sit down and ground ourselves in that and just realize, yeah, of course I feel helpless, but it's not the reality.
Well, and what a season to be experiencing this, as we are just a week, a few days out from Easter and Holy Week. And like you were talking, just mention what we're kind of doing as a family, because I know people have been asking that question too.
You guys are going through this. I mean, how can we honor Holy Week in the midst of this? And so often we're used to gathering with all the people we love, worshiping with the people we serve and love with. And so much of all of that happy celebration is stripped away. So our family had to sit down and think, okay, what is it that is meaningful in this time now? Not trying to create something that's normal, but trying to honor this special time. And so we really focused in on one thing. Was we knew we wanted to share communion as a family.
Right.
And I was able to go and dig out some precious communion.
We went to the Holy Land.
Yeah.
Was that 3 years ago now?
Yes.
With Lisa Turkhurst and her incredible ministry at Proverbs 31. And anyway, while we were there in the Holy Land, we got these little communion cups out of olive wood. And so we're going to have communion together.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't take olive wood cups, but we decided on that sacred ritual for our family as a worship point, and also, of course, worshiping online with our church. But then we thought, are we going to do the big Easter dinner? We can't go to the grocery more than every 2 weeks now. And we settled on just 2 treats, banana cream pie and orange Julius's at home. We may not have anything else, but that was fun. Just as a family in this context, what is it we can do, and how can we serve others beyond us?
Yeah. So, hey, I see a question there in real time. This is from Stephen. What advice do you have for engaged couples that are quarantined separately while still trying to prepare for a marriage and a wedding ceremony? Yeah, it's a great question. We get it every day, almost every hour. We've heard from so many couples that have been struggling because they had incredible wedding plans. We had some friends that were getting married in Italy, and obviously that's not happening anymore. And so what advice do you have for these couples out there that are, kind of crushed dreams of something they've been planning and spent a lot of money on, probably?
Right. Of course, we feel your pain. Let's just say this. There's no time in history where couples have had to face a defining moment like this of great disappointment, but also it is a defining moment. And in a way, you're writing your story, and it's a unique one. And of course, you're going to stay connected through technology, which is not what you want to hear.
Right.
But in the midst of a defining disappointment, how you respond without resentment, without self-pity, without blame, but with a sense of just sort of resiliency in the face of what you can't control.
Yeah. By the way, I was so self-conscious, I realized I scratched my lip like that, and I realized everybody's going, don't touch your face, don't touch your face. It creates more anxiety. I realized, by the way, in the midst of this, that 3 of my favorite hobbies are going out to restaurants, shopping at places that are not essential, and touching my face, like all of you. Great question, Stephen. One other thing I will mention along those lines with Leslie is that we have a network of thousands, tens of thousands of what we call SYMBIS facilitators. SYMBIS stands for Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts, the name of one of our books. And these people, we had a webinar with them last week. We have thousands and thousands that are trained to do that virtually. So what a great time to go through your marriage prep. If you're not familiar with the SYMBIS assessment, you can go to symbis.com and learn more about that. But and find a facilitator there that can do that with you. You answer a series of questions and it generates a report that they'll unpack with you. So yeah, our hearts are, like Leslie said, our hearts are with so many of you engaged couples out there that are having a pivot. So Claire writes, I've heard you two talk about empathy when you came to our church a few months ago for your fight night. Yeah, fight night is an event we used to do live and in person at churches. And so she's saying we talk about empathy. Can you remind me how to do that better? I love this question, Claire. Thank you for setting us up on it, because empathy is vital. We say it's the most important relationship skill you can have in any relationship, especially marriage. And here's one thing I can tell you. The happiest couples out there that are cooped up in their homes, in their apartments, in their condos, the happiest couples in the midst of this pandemic, in the midst of all this craziness, are the couples that are experiencing mutual empathy, right? That's the capacity to see the world from each other's perspective. And the research tells us we think we're doing this better than we are. Most people, when you hear me talk about it, you just go, oh yeah, I got that. Check that one off the list. I got empathy down. I got a lock on that. But the research shows we really aren't as good at that as we think we are, because we project our feelings onto each other, right? When was the last time you intentionally, we ask each other this every once in a while, when was the last time you intentionally put yourself in my shoes to see the world from my perspective? What year was that?
That is so bad. What year was that?
It really is true.
Or like this morning when I crept quietly out of the bedroom.
You probably did. You probably did.
Yeah.
Let me sleep a little longer. But
no, but you're right, because everything takes empathy. Even just being in this small space together in our homes.
Right.
Some of us are introverts. Some of us are extroverts. It does not come easy to get our rhythms going sometimes.
Right.
You know, where one of us needs the quiet sanctuary and the other one needs to be involved in every moment that you're.
I'm thinking of another thing. So I don't have OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. I have mild symptoms of it. I really like to have my world organized. And right there is our pantry. I'm not going to flip the thing so you can see it. But if you looked at it right now, you would go, who has medication to help this man that is organizing this pantry? Because all the labels are face out, and it's a disease, right? And
or his family who lives with the family. No, actually, it's a gift.
And the same thing in the fridge. I've been turning. It's like just give me any sense of control I can have in my life. But I think you've had empathy for me in doing that. You haven't made fun of me for doing it. And
and actually, when faced with out of control life circumstances, we often turn to things like that, like let's get order in our world.
Right. Yeah, and it really is true. And it does not matter to you and to our two boys. We have two boys with us. One home from college in Chicago, one in high school. But I'm the one that's pathological on that front. But anyway, empathy, so important. Did I answer that question? Here's one more thing I want to say on empathy. It involves your heart as well as your head. When we use our heart, that's sympathy, and sympathy flows with the adrenaline. That just flows naturally. Any decent human being has sympathy. And then we analyze with our head, right? And anybody that's objective, and men tend to do this, we know from research, more quickly than women do, to analyze a situation. But empathy involves both. And that's the challenge. That's why we think we do this better than we do. But it's like two wings of an airplane. You need to sympathize with your heart, to feel with that person, but also step back and be objective, analyze with your head. And that's what really gets empathy off the ground. So that's what you want to do. Intentionally focus on what must it feel like? And feel free to ask each other questions. Hey, I'm not in your shoes right now. Yeah. Tell me, what is this like for you, right?
And by the way, empathy also involves a lot of self-knowledge. You have to have insight about how you're feeling right now in order to set that aside accurately, and then try to enter the world of your spouse.
Yeah.
So it's not neglecting yourself, but it's knowing who you are and what you feel and setting that aside to really get where they're coming from.
Yeah. I'm trying to look at other questions. So great question on empathy. Any tools, I'm reading this before it goes across the screen, any tools couples respect each other's hobbies or how they like to rest, in quote, rest during this time, especially. Yeah.
Defining what's legitimate hobby and legitimate use of time.
I know one of your hobbies or way of resting is literally taking a nap most afternoons for about 20 minutes, which is something I never do. If I fall asleep for a nap, I'm like shot for the next one.
You really can't relate to that at all.
Yeah, but
you respect it.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
It makes a huge difference in my capacity.
I'd love to know what hobbies you're talking about there. And then I forget the person's name now that's gone across the screen. So many of the good questions coming in here. Lots of people comment on how much they enjoyed Simbas. That's fantastic. Carrie likes your smile.
Oh, Carrie.
Carrie, what about
you're the sweetest.
What about my hair? What's it say? You eyes. I see. I get you. Very nice. Let me look to some more questions that you guys have submitted. Well, here's kind of a more personal question.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. This is from Sarah. She says, "I'm just curious. What do two marriage experts, two psychologists," and she puts psychologists in quotes, like, okay, yeah, you're a psychologist. We really are. PhDs, in fact. But what do marriage experts do in the midst of a pandemic? What do we do in the midst of a pandemic? That's kind of wide open there, isn't it? And we've talked a little bit about that. I know one thing I'm doing that I've never done, and man, the sun is reflecting right off there. That's why you're seeing this. I don't know.
But we're in Seattle, and we have that beautiful sun.
I'm not complaining
so
about sun. I'll move over here closer to you. But one thing that, and it'll change as the sun shifts a little bit. But one thing I know I'm doing that I haven't done in years is I'm like putting a puzzle together. And right there, it's on that table right behind me, our library table. Here's the crazy thing. It's the third time I've put this same puzzle together in 3 or 4 weeks. And I finish it and then I break it all up again, shake it around in the box and put it out and do it again. It's more than 1,000 pieces. And it's funny because you guys have kind of made fun of me doing that.
Kind of.
But yeah, kind of like every night.
Like, is that your rest?
I gotta move back here. But there's something about a puzzle, for me anyway, that just kind of puts my mind in neutral, I've discovered, even if it's the same one over and over.
It's a satisfying escape.
And what I've noticed is it's difficult to walk by a puzzle. Here, let me have you stand up and shift your seat back. You can tell we haven't shot many videos right here. I'll
just kind of dodge the sun as best I can.
Well, I don't know. Do whatever you need to do. But anyway, you can't walk by a puzzle and wonder, what's going on here? Everybody knows what to do. The goal is yes. And so it's just kind of been, that's one goofy thing I've been doing. What about you?
For the third time.
Yeah, for the same puzzle in 3 times. Oh, and in fact, I just posted that on Facebook. So if you have other creative things that you're doing, maybe for the third time, go on our Facebook page and list them there. I posed the question.
Well, you kind of were making fun of me, not in a mean way, but just because it shocked you. Because I got out the box of construction paper and I've started making cards for
Suddenly
people.
You became Martha Stewart.
This is what I'm doing with my extroversion. Right. I can't be with people, so I'm making cards, and until my roll of stamps runs out, I'm going to keep sending them. And so these very handmade cards, they're humble, but somehow that gets my extroversion fed. So I'm just doing a lot of craft time.
I noticed that Eugene is saying, how can we maintain a routine during the COVID time as a couple? Such a good point. And this is really, psychologically, it's really important. If you have a routine, that will help you cultivate the kind of hope that we talked about at the top of this thing, because you have a sense of purpose and a sense of meaning. And these days, I think it was Jimmy Fallon that said, socks are the new shoes and a ball cap is the new shower. Right. And it's easy to just like, man, it's 6 o'clock and I haven't done anything yet, so one thing I know that we have done, I feel like I've made a big accomplishment when I have taken my shower for the day, but to have that sense of routine, and we do with our boys as well. We review, they're doing their classes online and all that stuff. And so we just have a review time. What have you done? And that can be kind of a sense of accountability.
Sort of the highs and lows of the day.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And actually, we sometimes don't realize the meaning that each day has held because we don't have the structures we normally do. It really does help to reflect and realize, okay, some meaningful things happen.
I'll tell you one other thing that I have begun doing in the midst of this, and that is to pull that mic closer there so I've backed up. The sun has dissipated. But and that is just to spend like an extra 5 minutes before I put my feet on the floor in the day and just count my blessings. I mean, I really have been more intentional about that. I was telling you about it a few days ago.
During this time than ever.
And just that sense of gratitude. Man, gratitude, if you don't know this, there's a mountain of research on gratitude. It's the fastest way to find happiness in your life, no matter what your circumstances are. It moves the needle most immediately, the quickest, most expediently on the happy meter. When you begin to just count your blessings and think about what I have to be grateful for.
And we all know that it's difficult, but what always shocks me is how natural it is for us to hold on to what's negative in our life. Our brains just do that naturally. But for the positives, we don't do that so easily. And so whenever we just sort of revel in the things we're grateful for, that installs them in our brain, and then we get to experience the joy of that. We don't hold on to the joy naturally. The negative things, they stay with us. The joy doesn't come as naturally. That's a choice, and it's a gift we give ourselves.
Right, absolutely. I'm seeing, Stuart, you're saying your wife is making masks for coworkers and friends. I love seeing that.
Awesome.
And how about our frontline people, our healthcare providers out there, incredible people at the grocery stores. I think it was Jimmy Fallon that didn't he have a thing that you saw it and I didn't?
Yeah, I took the challenge. It was, just to go out and ring a bell, and I went out and clanged my bell.
She did on our deck. She was out there
because I am
Seattle.
So deeply grateful. I cannot even put it in words, as I know you all are.
All right, we're gonna run short on time here, just a few more minutes, but I want to get to some more questions. Ron is asking, I like this question. One of the things I miss most right now is going out to dinner, especially for our date nights at favorite restaurants. Oh my goodness, is that not the truth? I miss, I said as a joke the other day, hey, you guys want to go to Chinook's? It's one of our favorite restaurants, and everybody just groaned, oh, Chinook's, I'd love to get that salmon dish, whatever it is. I feel your pain, Ron. We miss that too. He says, we've got 2 kids. We've played enough board games to last us a lifetime. And after our little ones are tucked into bed, it seems like we just have this pattern of vegging out, watching Netflix. Yep, I get that. Any creative ideas for a fun date night while we're all cooped up? Man, I love that question, right?
Yeah.
What can we do to have a date night? And it is challenging. And we get that question a lot. Here's one thing. In fact, we told a big group of people online the other day, and we got such great feedback. I've got to pass this on to you guys to let you know about this idea. And it has to do with this assessment called Better Love. And let me just talk about it for a couple minutes. The concept is simple. And by the way, when we were with our dear friends, Neil Clark Warren and his wife, Marilyn, one night we were in Pasadena, California, and having dinner in their home. And he said, this was over 20 years ago. He said, hey, you know that thing called the internet? Yeah, we know about the internet. He said, I wonder if we could use that to match people online. Anyway, that turned into an incredible conversation that ended up in founding eHarmony, the online matching company. And I remember in working with Neil on that project, as we progressed through the years and that thing took off, I said, man, I want to bring the same kind of magic that we're bringing to singles. I want to bring the same kind of technological magic to couples that are already, matched, couples that are already married or engaged. And so that's what we've done with this tool called Better Love. Here's how it works. It's super simple. You go online, go to betterlove.com. You answer a series of questions. It's going to take you about 15 minutes. It's not just a flippant kind of thing. It's not a little freebie, hey, what character from Star Wars are you or something?
No, it takes some deep thought about who you guys really are.
And but it's worth the investment, both financially and with your time. Take you about 15 minutes, and you do it separately. And once each of you have answered the questions, it will instantly generate a 10-page report on your relationship. And I know as soon as I say that, some of you are going, that's like the last thing I want is a report on a relationship right now. It's not that kind of a report. It doesn't evaluate. It doesn't grade. It's really a roadmap. It prints off a customized roadmap for better love, for lifelong love. And so that's what this is. It's a sample. This is a couple that gave us permission to share their results. But one of the cool things it does, I mean, talk about empathy. This is a great onboard to empathy, which is what we're in short supply. I've often joked, that if we could only, manufacture a bottle of empathy, a spray bottle, can you imagine how that would take off? We can't do that, but this is the closest we've come. The first page is all about personality, and it'll put you where your personality type. Are you an achieving spouse, a pioneering spouse, an energizing spouse, an affirming spouse? That's what you are, and so forth. But it's not a guessing game. We're going to give you a little paragraph that describes that, and there's nearly 40,000 variables that go into these paragraphs. What does that mean? This is your paragraph, nobody else's. You won't see it on anybody else's report. And sometimes couples do this. Even we've heard from couples doing this in groups, virtually together through Zoom and just talking about it. It's really fun to see that. The next page does something that you've never seen before. It takes your two personalities and shows you how you're working out your dance steps together. What are the strengths that you guys are bringing into this relationship? And then I love this little section down here. I don't know if you can see that, but it gets into stuff like, and I see some questions come back to, but how do you solve problems? Wow. Do we have an opportunity to solve problems right now, with everything that's going on in our own homes? Are you a reflective problem solver? What you
which
are.
I am.
Or an aggressive problem solver, which I am. How do you make decisions? Are you spontaneous or cautious, and those kinds of things? Anyway, you get the idea. It's going to go through that. It's going to go through communication. It's going to go through intimacy and sex. Yeah, sex, man. And conflict management. Everybody has their own fight type. And so it's pretty cool. It talks to you about how to leverage that so that you can have good fights. The goal is not to
avoid it.
Yeah. It's to use fights. We often say conflict is the price we pay for deeper intimacy. If you know how to fight a good fight, it can actually draw you closer together. Money, our good friend Dave Ramsey helped us with this page on the money matrix, and attitude, and then time. You saw me talking about that earlier. Your time styles is in there. And then the coolest page of all is what we call harmony, here on the last page. I'll leave you to discover that if you want to. Just go to betterlove.com and invest 15 minutes of your time answering a series of questions, and make it a date night. It comes with a little action plan that literally has 4 dates, which is perfect. We got 4 more weeks at least to be in our homes together. And so why not make it a date night by unpacking that? Anything you want to say about that?
No, I mean, here's what I love about that, because this is not in any way something that is threatening or makes you feel like, you're the cause of our problems. This is all just insight and growth.
Yeah.
So it's fresh information and it's fresh conversation, which we actually need.
Right.
So I love what it brings to the table when you're trying to make a new connection.
And by the way, I see several people that are saying, hey, what's the difference between Symbis and Better Love? Great question. So this does not require a facilitator. With Symbis, you have to be invited by someone that we have trained, a facilitator. And it's 15 pages. It has some more clinical things in there and so forth. This is just for you. You don't need a counselor. You don't need a pastor, a chaplain. You don't need a mentor. This is just for the two of you. So that's the difference. I hope I'm answering that question.
This brings insight, but it doesn't wade into treacherous waters where you would need a gifted counselor.
No blame, no shame, no guilt. You won't have more conflict. You're going to have more intimacy, less bickering,
all about connection.
More connection between the two of you. So there you go. Any other questions on that? And it's for it's for couples that are dating, engaged, as we like to say, on the edge of commitment, or married a few years, or married for decades. So any and every stage and age of couples out there. So, hey, we're almost winding down here on our little huddle for hope. And by the way, still trying to scan some of these things. Oh, how can I get trained as a Symbis certified person? Just go to symbis.com, SYMBIS. Make sure you spell that right. Symbis.com. That stands for Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts. And hey, I'm seeing a few people I even know on this deal, so that's awesome. What is Symbis? Jason is asking. Symbis is kind of like Better Love. It's just you're invited by a facilitator to get that report, and they debrief it with you. Okay. So wrapping up our Huddle for Hope. By the way, would you let us know if this is something you'd like to see again, maybe in a couple weeks? If this is valuable to you, we'll come back and do this again. Maybe even have more of these, right? Back rub, right, for you.
Or we'll get to see your shaved head, perhaps.
Or what if we shaved Leslie's head? Wouldn't that be
that
incredible?
would be a picture we don't want to have.
That would be something. Man, oh man, maybe one of our boys. Who knows? I'm dying to use this little clipper thing here. Or who knows? Maybe I'll learn the song on the guitar. That is probably not going to happen. But any other questions here? Oh, good. I'm seeing some of you say yes. Let's do this again. I love seeing that. Fantastic, you guys. Let's do one more question before we wrap this up, and we'll have just exactly an hour. My wife tells me I'm becoming Debbie Downer, and I admit my attitude could use a realignment. How can I be more positive when my personality tends to see the glass half full? Well, what an honest person. That's from Daniel, and he is shooting straight here. You've accomplished something big just in asking that question.
Yeah, because awareness actually is one of the things you often say.
I say awareness is curative.
Exactly.
Man, you can't do something unless you're aware of it.
And here's the thing, as we started this whole Huddle for Hope, we talked about the fact that actually worry is an ingredient in hope. We don't have to be Pollyanna and in denial about the fact that there are possibilities out there.
Yeah.
All of us have a different personal style when it comes to how we react. Every personality has a different style, how we react in crisis. And sometimes it can feel like Debbie Downer when actually you're thorough and you're prepared and you're protective.
Or detail oriented. That's a personality trait as well. And for somebody that is not, that's just kind of loosey-goosey and just ready for the fun, we call them sparky in our home. People that are sparky.
Of which we have an example.
But they can kind of ruffle feathers because they can mess up, that kind of detail oriented stuff. But and again, we're managing our anxiety in the midst of this in so many different ways.
So the level of empathy required in a crisis is just deeper and wider than the level of empathy required even in daily life. And the thing that I'm trying to remember is this is that muscle stretching thing for our empathy muscles, because once we get a lock on that in a time like this, then when life resumes a sense of normalcy, whatever that looks like, it'll be like, it's like when you've been mountain climbing and you can breathe and you learn to breathe in the high altitude, and then you come back down. It's like, I could run a marathon. And I think that's how it's going to feel in our marriages. Like, okay, we could run a marathon every day because we've climbed this Mount Everest of the pandemic.
I love that. And I love that little phrase you use, is get a lock on that in a time like this. In fact, that should be a song. I should pick up, it should be like Bon Jovi and write the song. You finish the chorus. You guys, this has been really an honor to get to be in your homes and to interact in this fashion. I wish we could see your faces
so much
as well. But I can tell by the response we're getting, we're going to have to do this again here because people they have more questions that we haven't even begun to answer. And I want to get to some of those, but we just wish you every good thing in this Holy Week as we are walking towards Easter, and we're just praying a blessing on your relationship. And we just thank you. It says something. It says something about you that you have taken the time to be with us, to invest in your relationship in the midst of this whole pandemic. It just seems even crazy to keep saying that, doesn't it? This pandemic worldwide. But here we are, and thank you so much. May God bless you, and we'll see you next time.